Thank you very much for coming out. You know, today is a very special day for all of us. 100 years to the day that Our Lady appeared. I personally feel overwhelmed by that, to be here and to participate in this kind of thing on the 100th anniversary, as well as Our Lady's special day. Just an opening quick remark. We live in a world seething with turmoil. It confronts us daily, whether in North America, Europe, or the Middle East. However, for the next 2 days, I would like to think that this room is a quiet oasis into which we have placed ourselves, and that we have left behind the disordered world, even for just a few hours. Now, I don't want you to just listen to the speakers. I'd like you to absorb the wealth of information that over the next 2 days they will present. And on that note, I welcome you to the opening of the conference presented by Our Lady's Army of Advocates. But I would also be remiss if I make some comments regarding John Venari. For the first time in many years, our Fatima conference will begin without a beloved friend and associate. To many of you, the name John Venari was just a byline in the Catholic Family News. To many others, he was a true friend, and to the ones that counted, the most dedicated father and husband. John Venari dedicated the last few years of his life to the Catholic Family News. And now the Catholic Family News dedicates its print to John Venari. In the few minutes that I have before we start our conference, I can only refer to the learned men and women who wrote so eloquently in the Catholic Family News about John, his life and his career in the CFN. When referring to John, words flowed freely from the writers' hearts. Words like commitment, valor, champion, proud papa, intelligence, gentleman, and friend to all. My words will not do justice to John's life as well as he lived. For a period of 14 years of his life, he was known as Brother John. While he never took his final vows, no one worked harder to conform to the life of the principles laid down by St. Benedict. In his earlier journalistic career, he wrote a quarterly newsletter called Crying in the Wilderness. It was through this newsletter that many Catholics who were looking for a refuge from the storm that was the revolution of Vatican II found that support for their traditional faith. Even in his early years, John's writing demonstrated his heroic defense of the timely Catholic truth that he cherished so dearly. John's vocation as a writer and teacher was taking shape and maturing. When the time was right, divine providence brought John to his calling. After choosing to leave the monastery, he became the editor of the Catholic Family News. He quickly transformed the newspaper into a powerhouse of orthodox reporting and commentary. John knew his Catholic doctrine, and he soon surrounded himself with trusted, like-minded companions, some being members of the clergy. Those who worked with John in any capacity at the Fatima Center could attest to his sincere friendship and trust. John was described as lovable, and indeed, by some, he was definitely likable. John married soon after he joined the apostolate. His wonderful wife, Susan, understood him and shared his passion for the faith. They worked well together, and John felt very blessed in his marriage. John and Susan had 3 wonderful children, Elizabeth, Philomena, and Benedict. When the seriousness of John's illness became known publicly, there was an outpouring of prayers, sacrifices, and tributes. such as few men receive. Thousands of people who never knew John and knew him only through his published material and videos were genuinely moved by the thought that he had been taken from us. John suffered a great deal during the last few months, but his spirit and faith continued to be strong with true Venari devotion. He offered all his trials to our Lord and Lady for the salvation of souls. Now that he is no longer with us, the sense of loss and emptiness that follows the passing of one so loved and respected must be faced and endured. Thinking of John in his deep and unabiding love of our Lord and Our Lady and the Catholic faith should, in the light of the passing of Father Gruner, spur us on to fulfill the work both men started. To honor John and to show our love for our dear friend, we can do nothing better than to pray for the repose of his soul as he would want us to do. It is up to us who remain to fight the good fight, to preserve, defend, and promote the traditional teaching of the Church. To quote from John Sisko's article, where he wrote, "At the end he could say, with St. Paul, I have fought the good fight. I have finished my course. I have kept the faith. Rest in peace, faithful servant."